All right, Tom, I'm going to bring you back to life a little bit. This is like the closing segment. And then we're going to go through super chats. Is he going to come back for this?
Tom,
I'm still here.
Oh, there he is.
We're just going to go over the box office real quick because, I mean, there's a lot of surprising failures here. Well, I guess not that surprising, but Lord of the Rings, what a failure that is. I'm kind of more shocked about that than anything. Lord of the Rings anime, they're predicting a $5 million 3-day on that, which is, I mean, think about how far that property has fallen.
I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised. Like anime movies, unless it's like a super popular franchise, they won't even air them here in the U.S. I mean, Lord of the Rings, sure, but I can't imagine there's. I don't even know why they fucking made the movie in the first place.
Well, can I back up even before this and say I didn't even know it was a movie?
So I thought it was going to be like on Prime or something. Like I didn't realize that this was coming out in theaters.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this. What the hell?
They announced it like a year or two ago.
Yeah, so that's just really bad marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really market this movie. I didn't see any advertising for it. It's almost like they knew it was going to go
They knew
die.
it was going to flop, so it was like not worth it. Wow.
It's just crazy how far like Lord of the Rings has fallen.
Well, that's what happens when you take a beloved franchise and you rip apart its lore for shits and giggles because you have crap writers.
Mm-hmm. Well, they want to see themselves.
Rachel Zegler's Y2K. See where we're at on that. A total of 3.7 million. So a disastrous weekend for Rachel Zegler. Always happy to see her fall down because she is a real nasty person. I'll never forget her trying to cancel Gina Carano. And then Craven the Hunter making just around the same amount of money as Madam Web. So
are we finally going to get like an end to the whatchamacallit, these garbage ass Sony individual projects? Because they are just.
You must not have been paying attention to the news all week.
No, I really have not.
Well,
yeah, they said it was going to end, but now they say it's not.
Who says it's not?
There's a couple of articles out today saying that, oh, yeah, that's not true. We're still going to do the Spider-Man spinoffs.
Why?
Says who?
Why?
That's
Like,
what I
why?
say.
You're losing money every single
I don't
time,
believe
and
it.
people just make fun of you.
I press expert out. I believe the first story come out that because this shit came out before the movie even dropped. And you know, any other time they got a movie like this coming out, it's you got to go see this because Kraven the Hunter 2 is already in production, kids. No, we didn't get anything like that. The word that came out was this shit is done. In fact, they started pulling it from theaters, so it had like
here you go.
I don't know what the total number is now that it's at, but they've pulled it at a few hundred theaters before it even opened. And I was predicting this on the show last week or Monday. I can't remember which one it was. Where basically Tom Rothman is not an individual who's going to f around. He hates comic book movies. So for him, this is like a big I told you so.
Well, here he is. Even after Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web, Sony Marvel movies aren't dead.
Says who? That's my question.
Somebody they talk to.
Says Adam Vari, who used to work at BuzzFeed. So take that for what it will. Senior entertainment writer for Variety, past BuzzFeed News and Entertainment Weekly. Twitter refugee, opinions, pie, cupcakes are mine. He/him.
According to one Sony source, doesn't even say who.
Did they say who for when it was done?
I don't think so. It just says according to one Sony source.
I think that somebody jumped ahead and came out and said these are done, and then somebody said, no, that's not true.
Yeah, but the true reality of it is they're
who
done.
The fuck knows if it's going to
happen. I am willing to put money on it because I know Tom Rothman pretty well.
Well, no. Now, the other caveat to this is they're now going to hire a Spider-Man to be in these movies, and it's not going to be Tom Holland, and it's not going to be Andrew Garfield. It's going to be somebody else. Which
who the f says that?
That's what this story is talking about.
Because I don't even think they can do that.
Apparently, there was a story saying that they have never been. There was nothing.
There were no
them from doing that.
stipulations for Spider-Man not being in those movies, is what came out in the original report. So now apparently they're going to try this again, but they're going to have Spider-Man.
That may be true, but okay. So here's my understanding of this, and this is how I don't think they can do that. Is they can put Spider-Man in those movies. Why couldn't
they do that? They have the.
But let me explain. Let me explain. It has to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because at this moment in time, Marvel has a license. Basically, they're re-licensing Spider-Man back from Sony is the way this kind of works. So they have a deal for so many movies that he will appear in on both sides, right? So this is what took so long for Spider-Man 4 to get worked out, because ever since the beginning, little Amy Pascal and Avi Arad have had this little game they've been playing with everybody, where this is why everybody in the Marvel universe, when it comes to Spider-Man's universe, is like 25% different versions of the characters. It's not Mary Jane, it's MJ, for instance, and stuff like that, is because they wanted to keep all those characters to the side. So when they pull, this was their plan. We all know this. We don't have anything to support it necessarily other than evidence. That basically they were going to plan to probably pull Spider-Man out of the universe and back into their own little Sony Venom verse, tricking the audience into thinking these are all Marvel movies. Because if Spider-Man is involved in any of these movies, guess what? Kevin Feige has a say over shit.
I don't know if I believe that.
I think that's the way it works. Because I can't just see them willy-nilly being able to make another Spider-Man movie without Marvel being involved, because that's the way this whole deal works right now.
If you use Tom Holland, I think you're correct. They could just use the.
They can, but then MCU has some say over it. That's
what I'm saying is you could just get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, which the fans would actually appreciate.
Just use them.
But instead,
I don't know if they can.
But instead, they want to hire a brand new actor, and it makes kind of sense.
They can do whatever they want. Tom, you think Marvel wants Madam Web? Diluting the Marvel brand.
It's not about what we want.
Marvel's name, the trailer for Marvel appears before anything rolls.
I think the only
a lot of people, you have to consider how stupid the average person is. Like, a lot of people sit down and see that Marvel logo. We're definitely Marvel, we're MCU.
I think the only thing that would prevent Andrew Garfield from coming back is that whole blow up that got him out of the role in the first place. But either way, if they have the ability to introduce a Spider-Man into these films, they should have been doing that from the beginning, and they should have just gotten one of the old actors back.
I hope they keep going with it. I hope this is real and they keep making these shitty spin-offs so that I can laugh at them, because this was always a dumb idea. Kraven the Hunter is a good Spider-Man villain. Nobody wants to see a Kraven the Hunter movie, and that's been proven now. Nobody wanted to see Madam Web, a support character. Nobody wants to. They've tried to do Morbius comics. Nobody reads them. Morbius is only interested when he's trying to suck Spider-Man's blood out, or Blade, or he's teaming up with Blade or something. Nobody reads solo Morbius comics. None of these characters can work without Spider-Man. The only one that can is like Venom.
You have to understand, the first of all, the original deal is so complicated that Sony only has rights to live action Spider-Man. That's why the Nicolas Cage series is now all of a sudden live action and not animated, because they can't do that. And another thing is, why all of a sudden...
And what do you think the Spider-Verse movies are? Those are animated.
Let me finish. Would you...
Not for live action only. They can make any Spider-Man movie they want.
Movie, yes.
Exactly.
Movie, not a TV show. They can't. See, that's how complicated these rules are on what they can and cannot do. And if it is, it has to be at least a movie length, right? Like, so that's the whole thing. These are all in their stipulations of what they can and can't do. And then Sony turned around and gave up the rights for the toys about 10 years ago just to hang on to the rights to Spider-Man longer. So Marvel was more than happy to take that back from them.
Oh, yeah.
In the deal.
That's where all the money is.
And now I think that's what's coming in between Spider-Verse here, because from what I heard is that the only deal now that Marvel and Sony has, and this goes with that convoluted deal they have, is that they get a piece of the Spider-Man toys, but not the Spider-Verse. Marvel gets all those Spider-Verse toys. And for some reason, they made a Spider-Verse 2 that left on a cliffhanger, and they have yet, as of yesterday, the voice actor has said he has not recorded a bit of dialogue. He has not seen a script. Something is going on over there that they have not started working on Spider-Verse 3. So
Yeah, what a
something
drop
is
ball that is.
completely, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like something, I think it's because Tom Rothman, knowing him, knowing the Amy Pascal situation, knowing Avi Arad, he is coming in with a hammer saying, you guys have done nothing but this up for the last 2 decades. You've done nothing but it up since Spider-Man 3. You haven't done one good thing. Venom is the closest thing they've had to a success. And there's still rumors that Kevin Feige fiddled with that. So who are you going to believe? And Tom Rothman on the other end says, I came in and fixed it. So everybody claims to be the one who fixed that to make that a hit. So that's what I'm saying. It's like this whole thing is so messed up. I believe Tom Rothman came out and said this shit is done. He would be more than willing and happy to sit back and collect money from Marvel. I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing rumors that there's a deal that's going to be worked out to where all these characters are just going to be licensed to Marvel from Sony here going forward. And they work out some deal. And I've told Andre, he doesn't necessarily agree with this, but I'm even willing to put money on that by the end of the next decade, Disney and Marvel buy Spider-Man back from Sony. Unless they get rid of Tom Rothman and they get somebody in there who can do it on their own.
I think they tried, and like Sony told them like a couple $1 billion or so. Like
that's what I'm saying. It's going to get to a point where one is going to be worth more to the other.
Well, you would think that they would sell it because honestly, without the merchandising money, what is the point? Because that's
what
really
I mean.
where the money is. It's funny because like all Sony gets is the box office. So if they put a movie out, you know who's making the toys and shit, making money off of those? It's Marvel, Disney. Like Sony gets, I don't even think they get a percentage of that money. Unless they've given them something behind like closed doors in a contract.
They only get a small percentage of Spider-Man toys that are related to the Tom Holland Spider-Man because of the deal. That's what I know. As far as the video games or anything like that, I think that Sony has specific game deals, but those are like completely different from their movie deals, if that makes sense. Because the only deal that I know that Sony has, as far as they have the licensed rights. See, this is the other thing is people say Sony owns. No, Sony doesn't own Spider-Man. They just have a license for him. And as long as he keeps getting movie made, then they keep having that license. Yeah.
They used to have the TV rights as well, but they lost that.
They still have some, and that's what I was getting at, is they were able to make that Nicolas Cage series, but it has to be live action. See, that's the thing. And I can't remember exactly how the rules all completely go, but it's like a bunch of set up rules, because if Marvel wants to make a Spider-Man animated series, which they've done, you know, half a dozen times in the last 20 years, Marvel can do that all day long, and Sony can't say shit about it.
Snake Oiler is right, too. I mean, basically, the best way to put this is, could you imagine the DC universe?
He very much is.
Could you imagine the DC comic book movies, like them doing a universe and not having the rights to Batman? It's the same thing. Like Batman is DC's biggest property. Spider-Man is Marvel's biggest property. And
Spider-Man has pretty much surpassed Batman in popularity at this point. And we were just talking about this the other day. But
it kind of flips back.
It's just because I think Spider-Man resonates more with a younger audience, and that's just a whole nother conversation to be had. But at the end of the day, it just makes more sense for them to kill this universe, because the only thing Tom Rothman's looking at is the money that's been made. When the only time that Spider-Man has made $1 billion is when he's been in the MCU. We have to, and that's the way he's probably looking at it too. So for better or for worse going forward, that's probably what's going to be.
How much money did those Toby movies make?
They did well, and by inflation wise, I believe the third film did well over $1 billion by inflation. But I think actual box office wise, I think it only did like 8 or so 100 million. But that was the one that grossed the most. But that was because Spider-Man 2 was so good. Everybody went to see Spider-Man 3 opening weekend.
Yeah, I did too. I actually saw that movie. Like I had a press ticket. I saw it like a week early.
But since then, The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 have fallen off cliffs. And every one of these Spider-Verse films has utterly failed except for Venom.